Oh, you made it. You're finally here. Welcome to Half-Cocked Tales, a place where we have a great time celebrating science, the social contract, and just plain old congeniality. Dare I say, a place where we seek a path to peace, prosperity, and exploration amongst the stars. What I'm talking about is an all-inclusive society, meaning if you're not on board with the understanding that we all agree to shared rules, norms, and respect, we're not even obligated to consider your opinion any longer. Because the social contract is that important to a civil society. You can't have it without it. I'm your friend and host, Dan the Worshipman Dionysus fan, sipping on some science today. I'd like to welcome any new listeners just joining us. We're hoping you're having a good time. That's what we're here to do. Stay tuned until the end of the show. We're going to be talking about one body part that if you have it, you will absolutely die someday. We'll get to that at the end of the episode.
Oh, my.
As always.
Which one?
Do we have to wait till the end?
You do. You absolutely do. It is not clickbait. I absolutely will fulfill that pledge. As always, clearly, I'm joined by some fine and fascinating guests in the lounge today. I hear that wonderful voice. Amber, my sister who loves the woo-woo, thinks she's always right, too. Amber, how are you doing today?
I am fabulous today.
Glad to hear it. And we are truly, truly blessed with the presence of one of my favorite people in the universe.
Aww.
Jamie Lynn, a druidess who's just so damn good at this. Jamie Lynn, how's your morning going so far?
Well, after that build-up, it's great.
Right? How could she? She can't say, well, frankly, my morning has sucked.
It was all right, but my husband's a real pain in the ass.
So
didn't even cook my bagel this morning.
Oh.
Not a euphemism.
What? Sure.
I'm glad you clarified.
I was a little worried we'd get confused on what that meant.
Yeah. All right, today's episode is brought to us by the Dharma Initiative. For those times when you're feeling lost in life, just call up the Dharma Initiative. They'll help you out.
They do some pretty amazing things.
We're going to take a quick look back today at the Battle of Little Bighorn.
Yes.
General Custer, a math model that posits there may not have been a Big Bang. We're going to be talking about a nova, a star that's going to go nova this year that we'll be able to see with the naked eye. We do encourage you to reach out to us at halfcockedtales@gmail.com. That's halfcockedtales, Tales. Maybe you want to text us a message or give us a voice message, 443-499-8253. Or maybe just want to drop a comment over on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok, or one of those social media sites that we're on. Is everybody ready to start this shindig? Let's head over to that time machine.
Let's get her going.
Let's party.
Nothing would be better than a look at days of yester in a time machine.
We're going to fire up the time machine. We're going to go back to the 1800s, specifically a date, infamous date of the Battle of Little Bighorn, June 25th and 26th, 1876.
All right, let's do this.
Everybody in, let's do this. Maybe
Buckle
get
up.
some. The Battle of Little Bighorn. There's a lot of context leading up to this. Very famous battle in which General George Armstrong Custer met his end at the hands of the Lakota Sioux and Northern Cheyenne tribes. So if we back up and let's learn a little bit more about who this brash general was that made such a famous impact. George Armstrong Custer. He was born in 1839 in Ohio. So 1839 Ohio wasn't quite the Midwest it was today. You know, it
was kind of the edge.
It was the West, right? Of established statehood, and by established I mean of the expansion of the American states. Obviously, natives were living all over the country. Youngest of 5 children, grew up. And I know what that's like. I think that easily play into his brash, flamboyant nature. I get that. Because, you have to
relate, huh?
be noticed, right? As a kid.
Yeah,
Anyway.
yeah. Oh, that's true. Especially as the last one.
Got a lot to live up to.
He eventually attends the U.S. Military Academy at West Point. He graduated in 1861 at the age of 22.
Oh, wow.
He was known there.
Seems late.
He was known for his poor academic performance, and he graduated absolutely dead last in his class.
Oh,
yeah.
But
I feel like he went through a lot of life really upset that he was kind of, he's one of those people that it blames a victim. I think we call him victims.
yeah.
He always felt like he deserved more, but he couldn't really perform.
right, it's all those other people keeping me down.
Right? All those siblings.
Because I'm the baby and they never let me talk.
So as something our father told me that stuck with me one time talking about doctors, and he was like, Dan, the doctor that graduates last in their class and the doctor that graduates first and end up both being doctors, right? You don't know which one you're getting. As we know, the Civil War broke out. 1861 to 1865 was the American Civil War. So he graduates at the beginning of the war, right?
Wow.
So he gets commissioned as a second lieutenant in the 2nd U.S. Cavalry and quickly gains a reputation for being daring and aggressive. And it worked for him. He had he found success in several battles, which led to rapid promotions. And in 2 short years, he was promoted to Brigadier General of volunteers at the age of 23, making one of the youngest generals in the Union Army. So the people, not the people that volunteered for the Army were their own group, and he was allowed to be Brigadier General of them. Now, he played a absolute big role in the Civil War and swaying some key battles. Battle of Gettysburg. His cavalry group. He played a crucial role where during the cavalry charge on East Cavalry Field, he led his men in a fierce and successful engagement against the Confederate forces, and he prevented a flanking maneuver by Confederate General Jeb Stuart. There was a point in Gettysburg where the Confederates were trying to encircle the Union with their cavalry, and Custer's the one that stopped it.
Just a fun fact in there. So he did this amazing thing at Gettysburg, and that's when his father-in-law, Future, was like, maybe I do like this guy. He might be okay for my daughter.
You mean he's going to actually be successful at something?
I find that hugely humorous that the father-in-law was like, I don't think you're right for my
this
daughter.
Piece of crap.
Military hero. Okay, now I changed my mind. You're cool. You're cool.
Hero of Gettysburg, you say? Who is this fine young man? So that was in Gettysburg was July of 1863. Almost a full year later, in May of 1864, there was the Battle of Yellow Tavern, which Custer was participated in, and that same Confederate General Jeb Stuart died in that battle. So he met that guy again and beat him again. And that guy dying and that victory significantly diminished the Confederates' cavalry forces. Like Custer's a big part of that. His brigade was involved in several of Ulysses S. Grant's campaign battles during his overland campaign. The battles of the Wilderness, Spotsylvania Courthouse, and Cold Harbor, where those aggressive tactics, they were notable and effective. Like, he kept winning with just being like bold and aggressive. Like, you know what? Yeah, this is a battlefield. The less time I take making the decision, the more time I have acting. So he was really
get out there,
right? Just do it. Just go out there, do it right now, and it was successful. Later, under the command of General Philip Sheridan in the Shenandoah Valley campaign, His division played a key role in the Union victories at the Battle of Third Winchester and the Battle of Cedar Creek, which helped secure the Shenandoah Valley for the Union and disrupted all the Confederate supply lines. So he was definitely what we would consider
Kind
an
of a badass.
all-star, right? Like
Yeah.
he was all over the place. Huge successes that ensured the Northern victory. At the end of the war, the Appomattox campaign in April 1865, Custer's division was instrumental in the final campaign, leading to the surrender of Robert E. Lee at the Appomattox courthouse. His troops were among the first to receive the flag of truce from the Confederates, and he was present at Lee's surrender to Grant.
That's a total badass move. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
We started at the bottom of the pile, and he clawed his way to the top.
Yeah.
Take that, family sibling.
Well, yeah, right? His older brother, Roy. What did you do, Roy? Nothing. I beat the Confederates.
Right.
They literally took their peace treaty. Take that.
Take your dentist practice and go home. Anyway.
But did he get the girl?
Did he get the girl? Yeah, no, he
did.
Oh,
he got the girl.
So after the war ended, the volunteer brigade got disbanded. And so he actually got demoted back down to captain.
And he was, if I remember correctly, because I'm pretty sure it was after all of his winnings, he wanted to run for office, right? I remember something saying he had presidential ambition because he was so popular at this time. I think this is the right point.
Apologies. Jamie Lynn just hit the dial on the time machine and fast forwarded 7 years. We got to...
Oh, sorry.
Is that what you bumped into?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. My fat ass. Again. Dang it. Okay, what I mean to say is, Dan, please continue. Okay, but am I wrong? Wasn't it at this point? I'm trying to remember the timeline. Because he was building up in popularity, man. Right. Everyone was liking him.
He definitely, this brash commander with all these wins definitely wanted to keep going. He had higher ambitions. But before he could get there...
Anyway, continue.
He did get himself appointed lieutenant colonel of a newly formed cavalry regiment, the 7th Cavalry Regiment, and got stationed in the Western Territories to deal with the increasing conflicts they were having with the native tribes. So, let me hold on. I've got a longer list here. Let me switch notes. Where is it? Great Sioux.
I love your face.
Oh, that's right. My face is on there. Okay, well. So, under General Winfield Scott Hancock, he participated in an expedition against the Cheyenne, the Sioux, and the Arapaho tribes. That whole campaign marked with tension, obviously, it's fucking battles, and misunderstandings. Eventually, they destroyed a Cheyenne village and just the whole village. Not a great look. Increased the hostilities, ramped up the conflict. In 1868, he led a dawn attack on the Cheyenne village, led by Chief Black Kettle in what's present day Oklahoma. Just totally destroyed their village, killed women and children. Custer really highlights the dehumanization of the natives, right? Like this, it's one thing to have a battle, right? It's another to go in and just burn down the village and kill all the women and children.
Murder.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a line and you don't cross it.
It's basically genocide.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. But to them, they didn't think of it as such. They were vermin, they were terrible, they were stupid, and aggressive, and they wanted what they had.
That makes me think of some modern things that are happening where women and children are getting killed.
Here we go with our rhyming.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. There was a expedition to the Black Hills.
Here we go.
So
now it's gonna get ugly.
Hold on. So
Ramping
Black
up
Hills,
the excitement.
known as Pahasapa by the Lakota Sioux, were considered sacred to them.
Mm-hmm.
And according
Very
to the
sacred.
Fort Laramie Treaty of 1868, the Black Hills were recognized as part of the Great Sioux Reservation.
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep, they were not ours. They were. That's why they didn't leave the land. They were allowed to stay there because they said, "This is your land."
Yeah. But
Until
though the treaty
But wait.
said, here's the Great Sioux Reservation, people started to get interested in the Western Territories for settlement and those sweet, sweet resources on those Native American lands. So in 1874, Lieutenant Colonel Custer was tasked with leading an expedition into the Black Hills. Officially, the mission was to explore and map the region, because it's very important to explore and map the Native American reservation. To establish,
You gotta know what you got out there.
to establish a military
know what we gave
presence
away.
and assess its natural resources. Unofficially, there were already strong suspicions the area contained gold. And not only did the U.S. government want some of that, there are plenty of private prospectors that really loved that idea. So he took 1,000 men, including infantry, cavalry, and a support team, miners, scientists, journalists, all went with him. They left Fort Abraham Lincoln in North Dakota, went up to the Black Hills, and
rather ironic.
right?
They leave Fort Abraham Lincoln to go.
Yeah, leave Fort Lincoln.
Subjugate people.
Right.
And lo and behold, these prospectors, which, by the way, when you're taking a military expedition to map, you always take some gold prospectors, right? That's like
I always make sure I don't leave my gold prospector at home.
I mean,
Yeah,
when Jamie and Lynn
yeah.
and I go on a hike in the mountains, we call up our gold prospector friend to come along. Like, it's not, you can't do it. You just can't.
You got to see the
You
color.
need there.
Got to. Yeah.
Well, they found gold.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, along a creek near present-day Custer, South Dakota. He even got the town named after him.
Wow.
So they
Well, who's full of himself now?
immediately send word, hey, we found gold. And so, in like, without the internet, 2 days later, everybody knows, right? This is that big of a deal, right? Sensationalist journalism wrote stories all over the place. Rich gold deposits promising wealth and opportunity. Thousands of prospectors and settlers started flocking to the Black Hills. And the government did nothing. They did little of nothing to prevent the influx of miners and settlers into the Sioux Reservation.
Why would they? They also want the gold and money. So they're going to let other people go in and do their dirty work.
And I think it was a treaty of convenience at the time, right?
Yeah.
So, hey, if we can get back what we gave away,
exactly.
You know, I remember when I worked hotels one morning, I had some native guests staying there, and they were at breakfast, and I was chatting with them, and they asked some question, and I started to kind of hem and haw to try and think of, like, what's the guest service's best way to say this, because I'm about to tell them something they don't want to hear. And they started laughing, and they said something in their native language. I don't know what tribe it was. And the lady said something to the guide. He busted up laughing, and I was like, all right, what's so funny? And she's like, we've got a saying for when a white person tells you something, and it means, don't fucking believe it. And I, of course, started to laugh, and I was like, all right, then I'm not going to equivocate. Here is,
You got me.
Yeah.
you got me. You called me out. It's things like this, right? The Sioux signed
exactly why.
a damn treaty, and
It was in writing.
It's
in
a
writing
contract.
and earned with blood. And
Right.
boom,
Yeah.
here we are, just a few short years later, in total violation of the treaty.
Murdering their people, by the way, their women and their children.
Right.
So obviously word means nothing.
Wait, are you saying
Your word is not your
these
bond.
prospectors and settlers were not respecting Native Americans as human beings?
Oh, for sure they weren't. For sure. It's their sacred hills. You shouldn't even be in them.
Right.
Right?
The
Right.
act of being there
Precisely.
is
Precisely. Yeah.
atrocious.
Let's.
Problem number one.
Yeah. I mean, think of any sacred temple to any religion today, and be like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, oh that Mormon temple. No, we're gonna pop it open, let tourists come in with their cameras, take selfies,
Yeah, we're
set up
just
shop to sell trinkets in there. Oh, it's sacred to you? Yeah, that doesn't matter to us.
Okay.
Oh, that's fine. We'll be respectful. We promise.
Yeah,
Exactly.
We'll just tiptoe as we steal.
Wouldn't fly with the Christian religions today.
No, not at all. It wouldn't have flown with the Christian religions back then either, but they had no...
They would have risen up.
Right, they didn't have any respect for anyone else's spiritual practices.
One of the things that the social contract means to me, and why I opened the show with it. This is what I'm talking about. The social contract is these natives have just as much a right to their humanity as everybody else does, and it's not being respected here. There's no social contract. So why would the natives have any reason to engage? Right. That's how they get that saying that you know anything a white person tells you is a lie. That saying they didn't have that saying before European settlers came.
Right. It's our own damn fault. Our meaning the collective society, like not us personally.
The collective,
especially and I feel like it follows any society. It's not just a white person problem, and I mean white across the entire globe.
Right.
But they're always looked at as the other savages. Like they literally called them savages and thought the worst of them, and never realizing what a rich culture they had.
Well, if you other someone, it makes it a whole lot easier to mistreat them.
Yeah, to castigate, and take away their land.
And I mean, the things that we did, that our society did to them is just absolutely atrocious. The Indian boarding schools and forcing them to be in situations that were not safe for them. Like they just, I don't know. I've been watching, rewatching 1883 lately, and and there's just some of the depictions of the way that the natives were treated. It's just horrifying. It is.
It's appalling. If anyone hasn't watched Killers of the Flower Moon or read the book, I recommend.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Jeez. Wait, it didn't stop in the 1800s.
The movie. It's oh my gosh, we didn't. We never do. It seems, and that's what's so.
Even to this day, we're still trying to take away voting rights. We're still putting oil across oil pipelines across their sacred land.
Yeah, it never ends.
It's appalling.
Never ends. So
anyway, sorry, Dan.
They rightfully the natives started to gather and rise up. They started to resist and had a very clear common enemy. And it started what was known as the Great Sioux War of 1876 to 1877. Had some big notable battles. The start of the war is the Battle of Powder River. Colonel Joseph J. Reynolds led a surprise attack against a Cheyenne village near the Powder River in present-day Montana, destroyed the village. The Cheyenne managed to escape with most of their horses and belongings, and that was the beginning. We had Battle of Rosebud about 3 months later. Brigadier General George Crook's forces encountered a combined force of Lakota Sioux and Northern Cheyenne warriors led by Chief Crazy Horse near the Rosebud Creek in Montana.
Crazy Horse
entered the chat.
Yeah, can I do an aside?
Let me finish. Let me say two sentences and you get the aside.
Yeah, do you think?
The battle ended inconclusively. Both sides withdrew. However, the engagement did prevent Crook from joining forces with other U.S. Army columns, which contributed to the vulnerability of Custer's forces a couple weeks later. So Sitting Bull and Crazy Horse have gathered their warriors at the Little Bighorn. And on June 22nd, Custer, who's officially Lieutenant Colonel at this point, we call him General because that was his highest rank, but right now he's Lieutenant Colonel, excuse me, of the cavalry. he gets orders from General Alfred Terry to locate and contain the Native American forces until reinforcements could arrive. So 3 days later, Custer's scouts had reported a large Native American village in the Little Bighorn Valley, and thinking, hey, I got the element of surprise. What do I do with that? I'm Custer. He decides to attack right away and not listen to the second part of General Terry's orders, which was wait until reinforcements arrive.
Told by his scouts, no, there was more of them than you have bullets.
It was not a small gathering, you're saying?
He literally had his scouts.
Size is relative, right?
And it's just a bunch of stupid Indians and savages.
Right.
So,
it doesn't really matter.
Modern historians estimate the village had about 8,000 people with about 1,500 to 1,800 warriors.
Wow.
Oh.
So
I don't want to mess with that.
The conservative estimate of native warriors is 2.5 times the size of his force. Now, he was a graduate of West Point, and though the bottom of his class, he would have been 100% trained on the Roman battles of Hannibal, who really, really defined in modern war the encircling trick, right? Where there are several battles where Hannibal took a smaller amount of forces and destroyed the larger force by encircling them. Because what happens is once you've encircled, everything behind the front line of the group that is encircled is useless. If anybody here has seen the Game of Thrones Battle of the Bastards episode, it 100% does the best job I could ever point to of illustrating what encircling does to an army. All of a sudden, like, Jon Snow's in the middle, he's getting crushed, right? He can't even fucking breathe. He's just getting squeezed because they're just pushing and pushing and pushing, and the pressure, and everybody in the middle is useless all of a sudden. Anyway, so he hears all of this, but he's Custer, he's brash, he's got surprise, and he's like, I've got the cavalry, and I can just encircle him, right? I'll do it. He divided...
Methinks somebody is getting too big for their pants.
He divides his 600 men into 3 battalions, one led by Major Marcus Reno, another by Captain Frederick Benteen, and the third by himself. So Major Reno's battalion's the first to engage, and around midday, they attack the southern end of the village. But they're quickly overwhelmed by fierce resistance, because there's a ton of people in that village.
Figure.
I mean, we're talking 1,500 warriors.
They don't want to go?
1,500 warriors, but if you're attacking the village, you better believe the women and children who know they're going to get killed. They're fighting too. So you're not just fighting warriors when you hit that village.
No.
Right.
So very quickly, Reno orders a retreat to a wooded area along the river, suffers heavy casualties. Eventually, they fled up a steep bluff where they took a defensive position at the top of the hill. Like, it's really hard to battle uphill, right?
Yeah.
Now, Captain Benteen, his battalion, he was sent on a wide-ranging recon mission.
Oh boy!
And got recalled very quickly by Custer's urgent messages for support. Benteen's men reached Reno's position on the bluff, but they were unable to link back up with Custer's division or his battalion. So he splits his group into 3. Immediately, one gets trounced, retreats. The other one has to stop what they're doing to go save them. And now it's just Custer. And he'd sent those guys from the south.
Some very angry natives.
Angry natives. He had sent that battalion, the other battalion, to attack from the south. His was attacking from the north, the encirclement. And all of a sudden, they find themselves alone and heavily outnumbered, quickly surrounded and encircled themselves by Lakota and Cheyenne warriors. So they fought desperately, but
that came back to bite them in the ass.
They were all killed the first day.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's brutal.
The other 2 battalions managed to hold that hill until General Terry arrived with his reinforcements. So Custer and over 260 soldiers killed, more than 50 wounded. 60 to 100 native warriors were killed. And it left the nation kind of shocked, his defeat.
Mm-hmm.
But it also, 9/11 style, everybody got pissed and was like, well, now we got to send more troops at them. Those natives, how dare they give us a bloody nose on their lands that we're invading? How dare they?
Right?
That we gave to them.
Defended themselves? What?
It's crazy stuff.
Let me put it this way. Let's pen them in a small area, and when they start, when some of them start attacking, well, we'll just start throwing more and more troops
Wipe them
at
all
them.
out.
Nothing like that's happening today.
Yeah.
Nothing at all. This isn't rhyming with gossip. Excuse me. So this is
right.
One of the most famous engagements in American history, the Battle of Little Bighorn. General Custer, and as Jamie Lynn hinted at earlier, there's a lot of valid supposition that Custer had political ambitions and wanted, he really, really wanted to become president. And so his thinking was,
he really did.
If I crush the natives, I can make it back in time for the primaries.
Yeah.
And if he had done that, I think he might have been able to actually get it.
Well, yeah.
Like, I think he could have. That was huge.
He would be a war hero.
Twice over because of Gettysburg. So, yeah, I think he would have changed history had he been able, of course, to come out on top. But I don't know. It's kind of sad and disappointing because of the route, white America was like, how dare thee? And the Native Americans were like, yeah, okay, we're getting our power back. And, it just
didn't work out.
It was a moment and it crumbled. Yep.
Yeah. And it's a legacy that continues today. Like we were saying, we're still putting pipelines through sacred lands. All right, well, let's get back in the time machine. Go back to a better time when bigger, stronger powers aren't devastating and committing genocide amongst peoples.
Does that mean we're going into the future?
Star Trek, right? Star Trek future?
Listen, I couldn't afford the deluxe time machine. I can only go back in time and then return to the starting point. I'm sorry. Now let's talk about some science news.
It's time for some news from our point of view. We'd even be glad if we could have a laugh or two. It's time for some news.
Welcome to Half-Cocked Science News, where we talk about recent scientific developments, scams, fraud, and deceptions, and end with some feel-good news. We're all about curiosity, integrity, and positivity here, and we're thrilled to have you with us today as we discuss a math model that posits there may not have been a Big Bang. We're going to be talking about a nova, a star that's going to go nova this year that we'll be able to see with the naked eye, and also there's a new dinosaur named after the Norse trickster god Loki. We're going to all that stuff. Joined with me today for the science news is my sister who loves the woo-woo and thinks she's always right too. Amber, how are you doing today?
Hello, I am great. How are you?
Doing fantastic. Glad to hear your voice. Always fun to have you in the lounge. We're also joined today by Ron, the nudist who's not a prudist. How are you doing today, Ron?
I'm doing quite well.
I heard
managed to not get sunburned.
Nice.
Yeah. I heard you were at a nudist resort today.
A first time experience. Yes.
Is it in like?
Yeah, it was
the north
fun.
part of the city, like that one.
Yeah, far northwest side of town, Marana, Arizona.
Because I've heard of it, and I've kind of wanted to go, and I just haven't gotten up the courage yet. So well done. I'm impressed.
Yeah. We had a good experience. The only thing that weirded me out just a little bit was sitting naked in their restaurant having lunch. That felt a little odd. It felt like someone's going to be kicking me out. The police
Right?
will be arriving any moment now. They're just now noticing that he is naked.
Now, I thought like the restaurant was the one place that you didn't have to be nude. Like that was the one place you could put clothes on if you wanted.
You don't have to be.
Okay.
Right. They discourage
Right.
clothing everywhere,
Right.
pretty much. The only thing that I couldn't get myself primed for this time was table tennis. That's one of the things in their game room. And, well, my person, Nancy, she kind of wanted to table tennis and not quite ready for the jiggling everywhere, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Maybe next time. Maybe next time.
Oh, I'm trying to think of a good segue into science.
Human biology.
Speaking of stuff jiggling around, you know that Big Bang that jiggled around the universe?
Like shook it up
Speaking
and
of
rearranged
melanoma.
Yeah, okay, so some mathematicians got together and examined this geometric model of different space-times. Researchers Ghazal, Geshnizjani, Eric Ling,
Yeah,
and
Johnny.
Jerome
Easy for
Quinn.
you to say.
Yeah, we all know old Ghazal.
Oh, those guys.
They wrote a paper exploring whether Big Bang was what they would call a curvature singularity or a coordinate singularity.
Okay, so what are those? Do you know? Like, because I'm not familiar with those terms.
It's different types of a singularity, which I know you were like, what is a singularity? Which would be easily it's like a point at which a function takes an infinite value. So when you're talking space-time, it's where like the center of a black hole where matter is just infinitely dense.
Right.
That would be like a singularity. Okay. So when you're talking about different types, a curvature singularity is when the point or region of space-time where the curvature of space-time becomes infinite or undefined, meaning the quantities describing the curvature, such as the Riemann curvature tensor, which I don't know what it is, scalar invariance derived from it, it's where they just diverge. So think of that center of the black hole, and the hole itself has a curvature around it, right?
Right.
Has a ball, right? And the Big Bang singularity was thought to be a curvature singularity, whereas a coordinate singularity is a point where just an ill-defined point where the underlying geometry remains well behaved, and it's more of like the event horizon of the black hole, not the center of the black hole.
Okay.
Because like think of more like the North Pole in spherical coordinates, where longitude kind of becomes indeterminate. Like when you're at the North Pole, what does longitude mean?
Right. Right. It's relative.
Right. It's super relative. Right. That's more of a coordinate singularity. The key difference is how they break down the fabric of space-time. Curvature singularities indicate a breakdown of the fabric, while coordinate singularities are merely artifacts of a poor choice of coordinates, if you will. Like saying, "Oh, we're at the North Pole. Well, what's the longitude?" Like, "Oh, well, more of a coordinate singularity than a number."
Right.
So they concluded that in a universe dominated by dark energy, that the singularity we don't even need it. That you don't need a singularity to have the universe. So what they're saying is the Big Bang might not have been such a big bang after all.
Right.
So previously they thought that you had to have a singularity to cause the formation of the uniforms. Okay.
Based on the expansion of the universe, yes. Based on the expansion of the universe and the constants
But of course, the other assumption here is a universe populated by dark energy.
Yes.
That is still an assumption.
Yes,
Okay.
which we've
So
talked
it's
about
an
before.
assumption based on an assumption.
Yeah, we talked about that before. Other people are like, "There's no dark energy." It's a really exciting time for physics right now, and
Right.
I mean, it's anytime science gets upended is a fabulous time because it means we're getting closer to the truth, closer to
The paradigm shift.
the paradigm shift, a step closer. Something religions lack, right? The ability to be like, "Oh, wait, we were wrong. It's not Jeebus. It's his sister, Sheila."
Right.
But, they just didn't let men be prophets back, or women be prophets back then. So she wore a fake beard, right? Like,
The original beard.
no matter what evidence were to come
Here's
forward.
what you did there. Right.
Well done. No matter what evidence would come forward, no religion's going to make that shift. But science, it's
Right.
built to make those shifts. New evidence requires new explanations. It's fucking wonderful. I love it so much.
Well, science requires that you have an open mind to begin with. Like, to even question, you have to, like, science requires you to be a questioning person. And religion doesn't want you to question.
Yeah, good science critiques itself.
There, exactly. And there are several theories that posit a different variation from the traditional Big Bang singularity thing. There's the eternal inflation theory, saying the observable universe is just one of many bubbles that formed
Right.
in an ever-expanding universe. In this scenario, inflation is just eternal. And different regions of the universe are just constantly inflating. While localized Big Bangs occur in various pocket universes, it wasn't the origination of the universe. Which, excuse me,
Fascinating.
I definitely
That is
respect
really
the Big Bang.
fascinating.
In the human brain, in our concept of understanding things have a beginning and an end, right?
Right.
And this is
Right.
where
It's-
religion
It's tough
will,
to have a concept of no end. Yeah.
yeah, and no beginning. And this is where religion steps in and is
Correct.
like, well, we'll just say God did it,
Right.
and God's responsible
Right.
for it, which is no real answer at all because you keep digging. It's like, well, then how did God get there?
Right.
Right? It's
Well, and I mean,
Who created God?
what created God?
like right. Well, if we think about it, though,
Bigger
long
God.
before science was a respectable, like, field, that's how people tried to understand the world, is they would make up myths and stories to explain why things are happening. And
Right,
that's great as long as you don't stop there. But religion stops there. And
Right,
now
right.
questions their original premises.
We must sacrifice the virgins because the eclipse is occurring.
Ah!
Right.
Not the eclipse.
Appease the gods. They're angry.
Listen, honey, I know you wanted to wait till marriage, but if I could just take you out of the running for the sacrificial pool right now, you know what I'm saying?
I can help. I can hook you up.
I have connections.
That may very well be why they sacrifice virgins. Definitely fun stuff.
Heavens.
I'll have the
Yeah,
link
it is.
to that story in the episode description. But now let's talk a little bit about another thing in space. There's going to be a big nova this year. They don't know specifically what day it's going to go off, but T Coronae Borealis, affectionately known to astronomers as TCRB, is a binary system. Yeah, we all know TCRB.
Oh yeah,
Everybody does.
exactly.
It's got a white dwarf star, which is an incredibly dense remnant of a once bigger star, and in orbit around it is a bloated red giant that is towards the end of its existence, shedding its outer layers, get under the relentless pull of that white dwarf. So this nova has actually gone off. We recorded it going off in 1866 and 1946. So
if this is a pattern,
it is. If it was perfect, it's roughly every 80 years. but they're seeing the signs pointing to an impending nova, which could happen as soon as September of this year. So we're on the lookout.
Wow.
It's,
can't wait.
Right? It's going to go
Yeah.
from, what do they call it? A 10 on the luminosity scale down to a 2, which luminosity is like golf. The lower the number, the brighter it is. So it's going to go from like you need a telescope to see it to you can just walk outside and point to it and be like, oh, there. That's that giant bright thing.
Sweet.
Right?
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
The end is nigh.
The end is nigh, right? If this thing turns the sky red.
Oh, it's on. The purge is on.
We are in trouble, right? No. Yes.
Okay, let's talk about some snake oil. I don't know about you, but I think if I had a package show up to my door that was to my address but not to my name, I would probably think sweet free stuff. Maybe, depending on how long I've lived there, I might see, I would say, I would definitely, if it was my neighbor's name, I would take it over there. But like if it's not any of my neighbors, right, I'm just getting stuff delivered.
Right.
It could be hats, cameras.
Keep it coming.
A Minnesota woman just received a box filled with baby reveal balloons ordered from Amazon.
Okay.
Another family in Illinois just had a dozen boxes from Temu, T-E-M-U, delivered to her doorstep full of hats and cameras and stuff. But neither of them ordered them.
Okay.
What's happening is third-party sellers on Amazon and Temu and major e-commerce platforms, they want to either become a verified merchant, they want to write product reviews. So the scam has them, they get your address, they create a fake account, order it to your house, which is linked to that address as the real house, and then you're now a verified buyer, and they write a fake review about the product, which increases the product's rating. So they're actually giving away free stuff to artificially boost and rate their own reviews on Amazon, which I don't know about you, I use when I shop.
Yeah, for sure.
I will say I'm always on the lookout for ones that sound repetitive and fake.
Right.
I like to find a review that you can tell like somebody actually used the thing. But this is a weird ass part of the scam, which is you could just get free stuff at your door. And if you do, you should notify wherever it came from. You got an unsolicited package. I know it's stupid extra work.
Right.
But they're going to make it appear like you wrote a glowing review online of their product and that you're a verified buyer, and you're not. And it's like it's like identity theft light, right? They're not doing it to hurt you, but they are stealing your address and identity to help them.
Right. It's pretty skeevy.
Yeah, right.
Very
so weird.
skeevy.
Puts a bad taste in my mouth. Oh, hey, speaking of scamming and not being able to tell the difference between reality and whatnot, let's do some fact checking time.
Here we go, what do you know? It's fact checking time. Will you believe or be deceived? It's fact checking time. Cross my heart and hope to die. Stick a needle in my eye. Here's the quiz that all the kids call Fact Checkin' Time.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Fact Checkin' Time, the news show quiz that tests your ability to tell the difference between a news story and something the media has actually deemed worthy of a true fact check. We're here in the Half Cocktails Lounge with some amazing guests today. We got Ron, the geologist apologist. How you doing today, Ron?
Excelente.
Fantastic. And my lovely sister Amber, who loves the woo-woo and thinks she's always right too. How are you doing today, Amber?
Fantastical.
Fantastical. Well, we'll see if you stay fantastical, as you are in the hot seat today, playing for Poncho Cat, co-host of the Half Cocktails News Shorts. whether you win or lose today decides whether Poncho gets wet or dry food for dinner. So,
All right, Poncho. I'll do my best.
a lot of pressure. Now let's get to the game. I'm
Do
going
my
to present to you a series of events and stories that were on the internet, in the news, on social media, but only one of them has been fact-checked by a media outlet. They could be articles, social media posts, interview quotes, social media rumors. Could be anything. But only some of them were fact-checked. I will give you the list, and then you will have 2 minutes to ask me questions about the stories before you decide which is fact-checked.
Okay.
I will start the clock once I finished giving you the three options. I'm going to read three options. Only one was fact-checked.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
That's a 33.3333333% chance.
Here we go. Here we go.
Okay.
Either a gorilla passed the same cognitive test as Donald Trump, or the Columbus Zoo thought a gorilla was a male until it had a baby.
Oops.
Or gorillas have small penises because their females are prevented from sleeping around. You have 2 minutes to ask questions.
Oh my God. Okay. I don't even know what questions to ask with that one. Ron, help me out. What? Okay.
Gorillas do have pretty small penises for their body size, you know.
Well, I mean, yeah, they're huge. So, okay, when did the Trump story, like, when did that happen? Like the gorilla passing the same test?
It was Coco the gorilla, and Coco was said to have taken this test probably the 80s, 90s.
Okay.
Coco was 1971, born in 71.
Oh, a year before me. Oh, Coco, we're buddies. We're both Gen X. Hey, okay, and so does it matter which? Did they, like, narrow down on the exact type of gorilla in this third story? I'm totally forgetting the second story.
The Columbus Zoo.
This is way too hard.
The Columbus Zoo thought a gorilla was male until it had a baby.
Oh, that's right. And what year was that?
That was 2023.
Okay. I don't know why I'm even asking about the years. I don't know.
30 seconds.
Does the type of gorilla matter for the small penises, or is it just
No, they all have small penises. All gorillas, they're huge, but they've got like 1 inch long penises.
That's why so angry.
Well, I mean, I would be too. Their women should be pretty angry. I mean, I'm not sure how that would prevent sleeping around, though, unless it, like, I mean, I guess if it's not very fun, you're not going to want to do it.
No, it's the other way around. Gorillas operate in a polygynous system. The dominant male prevents the females from having access to other males. Because they don't, the sperm don't compete with other sperm. So longer, bigger penis isn't needed to help impregnate by giving that semen a head start. And you are out of time.
I see.
They're establishing dominance. Okay. Which one would be worthy of being fact-checked? Okay, you make this so hard. Okay, I'm gonna say they fact-checked the test, the gorilla, that Coco and Trump test.
Correct. That was the fact-checked story.
Oh my gosh. I know, it took forever to get there.
It didn't. No, Coco was not given that test. Coco was given tests, a lot of different tests. She had an IQ range of 70 to 90, which put her
so she was smarter than Trump.
Slow. Put her as slow for a toddler. She was a slow toddler. There are particular parts of the tests that people say she would have done really well on, but others she wouldn't have really understood.
Interesting.
She was able to compete logical progressions like the Raven's progressive matrices test. On the other hand, subjects such as the verbal section or pathfinding, she wouldn't have done well based on the test that she was given.
Well, that makes sense.
The Columbus Zoo. So there was a gorilla at the Columbus Zoo, an aquarium, and they had a newborn baby girl. And well, they thought that Sully was a male living with her mother since 2019, until the gorilla care team discovered that the 8-year-old gorilla had a baby in the night.
Whoopsies!
And they mistook it because they don't have prominent sex organs. They're tiny, tiny penises. They actually, males and females look alike until around the age 8 as well. That's when males start to get a little bit bigger, silverbacks, and their distinctive head bumps.
So they're not at fault because it was young. Okay.
And gorillas do have tiny penises as a result of this polygynous society. And the genes are actually linked to the same genes that hinder fertility in men. The genes that give them that small penis. And it is because they're not competing. All right, next round. Either the best temperature for sleeping is 82 degrees. Or
false. No, sorry.
It's illegal to have heat protection laws in Florida. I should say, it's illegal for a town to pass heat protection laws in the state of Florida. Or bathing and drinking in cold water while the weather is really, really hot can be harmful to your health. Your 2 minutes begin now.
All right. So, the second story.
It's illegal to have heat protection laws in the state of Florida.
Yes. So what are heat protection laws?
Like a law that says if a worker is working outside and it gets over 105 degrees, you have to give them so many minutes of break in the shade and so much water.
Okay. Well, I mean, it is Florida, so we don't really need to fact check any bullshit that comes out of Florida because it's always
we all just believe
true.
it? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's Florida. So the first and the second one again?
The first one is the best temperature for sleeping is 82 degrees.
Oh, yeah. 82 degrees. And then the last one was...
if you drink cold water or get in a cold bath in the middle of hot water, it's hard. It's bad for your health.
God. See, so I would totally believe that that's true. What was the sample size for the temperature study that they came up with this absurd number of 82? 82 is way too hot.
I don't have access to that data.
Okay.
It came out of the U.S. Department of Energy.
Okay. What year?
2024.
Okay, so recent. Gosh, which one would they fact check? I think they're going to fact check the temperature of her sleep.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's not correct.
No!
The U.S. Department of Energy this week did set out the guidelines of set your house to 78 degrees when you're home, 85 when you're away, and 82 while you're sleeping.
Fuck no.
You know, it's funny
no,
because
thank you.
When my wife's not home, I set it to 80. The Governor DeSantis in Florida did sign a bill in March that makes it so local governments cannot require companies to meet or provide heat exposure requirements beyond those required by state law. So,
fuck Florida.
Fuck those workers.
Yeah,
let them die.
Who cares? We'll just import some more.
And the fact check story was bathing and drinking cold water in hot weather.
Okay.
It's actually safe. The Department of Health already addressed these misconceptions in a Medium forum in 2023. Even though lately it's been shared on Facebook again. You don't have to wait. You can just drink that glass of cold water or jump in that cold water. You're going to be fine. Are you ready for the last round?
Oh, yes, let me center and get grounded.
Either a Brazilian priest used 1,000 helium balloons to float himself over the ocean where he fell to his death. Or
okay,
1889 photos of a Brazilian island show the same sea level as the year 2020. Or Brazilian lawmakers are currently trying to make abortion a homicide.
Helium death. Where was this?
This was in the Brazilian port city of Paranaguá in April 2008.
I think I remember hearing something about that. And then refresh my memory. The sea level, what were the dates for that again? Like in 18 something?
1889 picture of Brazilian island Sugarloaf Mountain off of the coast of Rio de Janeiro. 1889 versus 2020.
Photography in 1889 was not as sharp as it is now.
Okay.
So I would wonder if they could really tell the sea level. Like, what did they use to identify the sea level in those pictures?
They're taking a picture that from the same spot at the same angle.
Yeah, repeat photography.
But what was the visual cue that helped them like demarcate between land and sea?
The ends of the island where they've developed housing. There's a picture of 1889, 1910, and 2020. And
compare landmarks.
That's what I was trying to get at.
You've got the other islands
what were
as well.
Things?
The other islands in the background show you that it's
rock formations, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Brazil lawmakers and abortion. What's the abortion law in Brazil right now? Do we know?
Oh, no. Okay. So currently, and you're out of time, so this will be the last question. I will answer it. Currently, abortion in Brazil is legal in cases of rape. Yeah, the bill would curtail abortion rights and make it. They would convict up to 20 years. But all I know of current Brazilian abortion laws is currently abortion is legal for rape, or when carrying a pregnancy to term endangers the woman's life.
Right. Okay, I am going to say. All right, Poncho, if I don't get this right, I will bring you a special treat when I come over to visit to make it up to you. I am going to say that they fact-checked the Brazilian lawmakers and abortion law.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's not correct.
Was it the sea level?
It was the sea level. It was the sea level.
I should have gone my first instinct. I'm so sorry, Poncho.
They are currently protesting as the lower house considers a bill that would make it.
I'd be protesting too.
The law is already pretty hard to do and
pretty strict, yeah.
And since
that's awful.
Girls under 14 in Brazil make up almost 60% of rape survivors down there. So
holy fuck,
they're going to be the most impacted.
Oh my god. Okay, that's horrifying.
The Brazilian priest that did happen. It was his second time.
Yeah, I remember that.
He did it once to raise money and awareness with less balloons, but this time he was going to go from Brazil to Argentina. He was going to float over the ocean. And
probably not the wisest choice.
What got him was the air currents and storms.
Yeah.
Right? Like
you get over the ocean and it's wild.
Yeah.
He got up to 20,000 feet and the winds up there were just insane. The fact check story was the historical photos of Brazil. They don't disprove the sea level rising. They've risen at least 12.7 centimeters in Rio de Janeiro since 1963 alone. It would be impossible to see that change from the photos. So the photos are accurate.
Yeah, right. That's what I was thinking. Is like, how could you identify the change? So
yes, based on our eyes, there's no change.
No. All right, Poncho, I owe you big time. I will bring you something special. Make your master tell me what you want, and I will bring it.
Folks, that's going to do it for Fact Checkin' Time. Join us next week where either My nose will grow from lying, just like Pinocchio. Or I'll get some fleas from lying with dogs. Find out which next week. Let's talk about some feel-good news, and let's wrap this up.
A gulp or a sip, maybe even a hit, and join us for half cock feel good. And join us for half cock feel good.
Okay, well, you might feel a little bit better now if you hear the story of the Iberian Lynx. The Iberian Lynx is kind of, they're related. Lynx is related to a bobcat, which is the most common here in North America. So if you've seen a bobcat, I imagine with like a little shorter tail and a beard, and maybe much more stomach hair lying down is the Iberian Lynx. They are cousins. Well, I should say the bobcat is a type of lynx. They're all in the same lynx family. The Iberian lynx has been endangered because of, well, people hunting them, revenge killings from farms, like when it eats a chicken, people are like, oh, that cat, I'll kill it. It used to be all over Europe. It's also just declined as the rabbit population has declined, because rabbits also are a pest when it comes to agriculture. So people kill the rabbits and then they don't have rabbit seed anymore. But
kill the rabbit. Kill the rabbit.
Exactly. Fortunately, they've made a big comeback. To quote Francisco Javier Salcido Ortiz, who coordinates the EU-funded Life Lynx Connect project, quote, "The greatest recovery of a cat species ever achieved through conservation is the result of committed collaboration between public bodies, scientific institutions, private companies, and community members, including local landowners, farmers, gamekeepers, and hunters." So while the population had collapsed, they've managed to work with ranchers and landowners and get them on side with the idea of, like, we don't want to kill this anymore. Don't poach it. Don't reprisal killing for taking livestock. Like, watch out for it on the roads. We don't want any more roadkill. Well, since 2010, more than 400 have been reintroduced into parts of Portugal and Spain. And there are now 600 adult lynx raising cubs and roaming across 1,200 square miles. And they've almost jumped from endangered to least concern. Almost. They're still vulnerable, but they're just barely in the vulnerable. They've almost made it out. So now they're the only thing keeping this conservation organization from saying that it's a species of least concern is they're still really considered really vulnerable to sudden threats like a wildfire or a dramatic drop in rabbit population, which, like disease could do that. Or
stuff happens.
Right.
Or if anybody rolls back existing protections, which is something that always makes me scratch my head when I read about it in the US, where they're like, we moved this from endangered to doing just fine. And, well, while we were at it, we got rid of all the regulations that helped them move that way. It's like, wait, what?
Or we changed our metric to make what was bad good.
Yeah. It used to be 10,000. Now we say 5,000.
We just changed the scale.
Yeah. No, none of that. We hope that doesn't happen. Great news. As we know through biology, the diversity in life is the healthiest thing we can have. And saving these lynxes is an awesome thing. We definitely want to do. It's definitely going to help us. We
absolutely
lose that diversity, we'll go the way of those dinosaurs. Somebody be putting your skull back together saying, this is a very ornate skull for a human. Look at the horns.
What a specimen.
All right. That's some good stuff. But sadly, all good things do have to come to an end. And before we go, I do need to thank the Dharma Initiative, because lost causes need science more than ever. Looks like we're not going to have any time left for the one body part that if you have it, you will surely die. Sorry, folks, that's on me.
Oh.
Not going to have time to talk about that.
We'll never know.
You guaranteed
How do I know
death,
what to
too.
make sure I keep?
Yeah, well, I mean, which body part it is may surprise you. I need to give a shout out to science, congeniality, and the social contract, making society better than anarchy for many of the last thousands of years. Amber, any final words, thoughts, or goodbyes before we go?
Yes. Remember, if at first you don't succeed, redefine your success using statistics.
That's rock solid.
Yes.
And Ron, any final words, thoughts, or goodbyes before we go?
Just take care of yourselves, folks.
Yes, fantastic.
Aww.
Have a wonderful day, everyone. If you had a good time with us today, you know what to do. Tell someone that needs us. You can find us over at halfcocktails.com. We're on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. If you're in a giving mood, show your support over at Patreon or halfcocktails.com/shop. We'll have all those links in the episode description. But for now, thanks for stopping by. Go out and be well.
Now things are ending, it's time to go. No more to get through, thanks for listening, that's our show. Ain't affectation, we're just leaving you half-cocked. Half-cocked. We had a good time talking today, but even best times eventually they fade away. Ain't adjuration, we're just leaving half-cocked.